Getting the job of my dreams as manager at Subway was a milestone I had long awaited, and the anticipation bubbled within me as I prepared for my first shift. The idea of crafting delicious sandwiches and having the authority to direct others in creating culinary masterpieces was a thrill I couldn't contain. The first few hours of my shift went smoothly. My new employee, Sally, and I were getting along really well. We shared jokes, engaged in playful banter, and even had a laugh-inducing cold-cut fight that left slices of meat scattered across the counter. As we reveled in the camaraderie of the moment, a sudden darkness loomed outside the window. I turned to see thick, ominous storm clouds rolling in, obscuring the sunlight. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind began to howl. My attention was momentarily diverted to the brewing storm, but it was what I saw outside that sent a shiver down my spine. There, standing on the rain-slicked sidewalk, was a tall, dark figure of a man. He was unnaturally tall, his proportions elongated and distorted, and his features were hidden in shadow. But what unnerved me the most was his unhinged jaw and the disturbing grin that stretched impossibly wide across his face. His lips curled upward, revealing rows of sharp, serrated teeth, and his tongue darted out, licking his lips with an unsettling hunger. I instinctively stepped back from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. "Sally, do you see that?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Sally turned to look, her laughter fading into a look of horror as she spotted the tall, dark figure. What is that?" she stammered, her eyes wide with fear. We watched in dread as the figure continued to stare at us through the window, his gaze unwavering, his smile unchanging. The storm outside intensified, rain pelting the glass, and the thunderclaps grew louder, masking any sound that might have come from the strange man. With a sense of unease settling in, I knew we needed to take action. "Sally, lock the doors," I said, my voice trembling. As Sally hurried to secure the entrance, I continued to watch the unsettling figure outside. He remained there, unmoving, as if he were waiting for something. But what that something was, I couldn't fathom. As Sally rushed to lock the door, her hands trembling, she couldn't help but glance one last time at the tall, dark man standing outside. Just as she turned away, an ear-piercing scream tore through the air. It was a sound of raw, primal hunger and desperation. "Give me sandwich. Now!" the man bellowed, his voice a chilling crescendo of demand that sent shivers down our spines. Sally and I exchanged terrified glances, frozen in place by the sheer intensity of the man's scream. His eyes bore into us, wild and frenzied, as he repeated his haunting demand, "Give me sandwich. Now, or I will eat your soul." The storm raged outside, matching the chaos that had suddenly erupted inside the subway. We were trapped, our thoughts racing as we tried to comprehend the bizarre and menacing situation unfolding before us. Sally, her voice trembling, called out to me, "Dan, what do we do?" I scanned the restaurant, desperately searching for a way out. Panic washed over me as I realized we were trapped with this unhinged stranger who seemed to crave something far more sinister than just a sandwich. I was desperate to regain control of the situation as Sally's cries filled the air, drowning out any rational thought. Panic was infectious, and I knew we needed to stay composed if we were going to get through this. "Sally, please," I exclaimed, my voice firm and commanding. "Calm down and listen to me. I'm the manager here, and we need to figure out how to handle this." Sally sniffled and wiped her tears, her trembling slowly subsiding. "Okay, Dan," she managed to say, her voice quivering. She knew she had to follow my lead, given the situation, and I could fire her. I took a deep breath, trying to push aside my fear, and whispered to Sally, "We need to call the police. This situation is dangerous, and we can't handle it on our own." Sally nodded in agreement, and together we dialed 911, but the phone line was dead. Sally's suggestion to use our cell phones seemed like a lifeline in this terrifying situation, but the sign on the back wall served as a stark reminder of our work responsibilities. We were, after all, on the clock, and the rules were clear: no cell phones allowed while on duty. "Damn you, Sally. You fool. Damn you to hell. You know we can't use our cell phones while we're working," I replied, my voice tinged with frustration. "We have to find another way to handle this." Sally's excitement deflated, replaced by a sense of helplessness. She nodded, acknowledging the dilemma we were in. "You're right, Dan. You are the manager, and this job is my life, but what do we do now? The phone line is dead, and that guy outside, he's still there." I glanced at the tall, dark man who continued to loom outside, his insatiable hunger for a sandwich unabated. We needed to come up with a plan, and quickly, before the situation escalated further. "First," I said, "we need to make sure all the doors are securely locked. We don't want him getting in. Then, we'll need to find something to defend ourselves with, just in case." Sally's suggestion to give the unsettling man a sandwich took me by surprise. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My initial instinct was to dismiss the idea entirely. "Sally, that's ridiculous," I replied, my voice stern. "We can't just give him a free sandwich. Do you want me to fire you?" Sally's suggestion seemed irrational and dangerous, especially given the unsettling behavior of the man outside, who was now waving pounding on the glass. Help me, he kept screaming. Wow, he must be really dangerous, we thought, as the rain was really coming down hard. We couldn't predict how he would react. He seemed so hungry. What if it wasn't the right kind of sandwich? Or type of bread? What if he didn't like the new honey balsamic glaze? No, that's stupid, I thought. Everyone likes the honey balsamic. I chuckled for a moment just thinking how stupid I was for even thinking that. Anyway, I was the manager, damn it. I wasn't willing to put our safety at risk, or even worse, risk any of the delicious sandwiches, by appeasing her crazy ideas. Instead, we needed to focus on finding a way to protect ourselves and wait. The storm outside continued to rage, a fitting backdrop to the growing tension inside the subway. The man's screams had escalated into a cacophonous frenzy, and the storm outside only seemed to intensify his agitation. Lightning flashed ominously nearby, casting eerie shadows that danced across his tall, distorted figure. It was becoming increasingly evident that there was something unnatural about him, something beyond mere hunger for a sandwich. As he continued to demand entry, I could feel my own fear giving way to anger and defiance. "Get out of here," I yelled, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and fear. "You're not getting a sandwich that easy." Sally stared at me in astonishment, a mixture of admiration and disbelief in her eyes. She had seen me transform from just another manager into the best manager. I could see in her eyes I was the best manager she had ever seen, not just here but probably ever, in the history of Subway. The man outside showed no signs of relenting. His screams echoed through the restaurant, mingling with the howling winds and torrential rain. Lightning flickered dangerously close, illuminating his grotesque features in stark detail. We were trapped in a nightmarish scenario, confronting a seemingly supernatural force that was determined to enter our subway. The storm raged on, and our battle against this sinister presence was far from over. The man's threats grew louder and more menacing, his voice filled with an unsettling moan as he declared, "Let me in, I'll come in like a hurricane." He sounded almost scared or worried. I think I was starting to scare him. His words sent a chill down my spine, and I knew that it was time to take decisive action. As the manager, it was my responsibility to ensure the safety of the store and its sandwiches, no matter the cost. "Sally, we need to do something about this," I whispered urgently. "We can't let him in, and we can't wait for the police any longer." Sally nodded in agreement, her fear mingling with determination. We needed to remove this danger from our subway, to protect ourselves and the sandwiches from any harm. Gathering our courage, we grabbed the sandwich knives and we began to formulate a plan to confront the man outside, fully aware that the storm, the supernatural presence, and our own fear had turned this ordinary night at Subway into a harrowing ordeal. Sally and I exchanged a determined glance, fully aware that we needed to take action to protect ourselves in the store. With a sense of urgency, we both headed toward the kitchen area, where we kept a set of knives for food preparation. As we gripped the knives, our hearts pounded with a mixture of fear and resolve. The man outside had become an undeniable threat, and it was clear that we couldn't rely solely on the authorities to handle this situation. "Let's go," I said, my voice steady and determined. "We're not letting him have any of our sandwiches tonight." With our makeshift weapons in hand, we approached the front door, ready to confront the sinister presence that loomed just beyond it. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside the subway, we were preparing to face an even more terrifying force. As I described the terrifying appearance of the man outside to the police officer, my voice quivering with fear, I was met with an unexpected and unsettling revelation. The officer's voice on the other end of the line grew somber. "Sir," he began, "I believe you may be describing the owner of the subway location where you work." I was taken aback, my mind struggling to process this information. The man we had been so terrified of was, in fact, the owner of the establishment. How could this be? The officer went on to explain that the owner had suffered severe burns in a past accident, which had left him disfigured and in constant pain. His outbursts and unsettling behavior were a result of the agony he endured. It was a shocking revelation, and I couldn't help but feel a wave of guilt and empathy wash over me. I had taken a job at this subway through a phone interview, unaware of the owner's condition and the challenges he faced. As I relayed this information to Sally, her eyes widened in disbelief. We had misunderstood the situation entirely, and our fear had led us to misinterpret the owner's intentions. The hurricane still loomed, and we knew we had to find a way to reconcile with the owner, to ensure that he received the help and support he needed. Our night had gone from a terrifying ordeal to a complex and emotional. So we opened the door to let him in. Turns out he just wanted to take shelter from the storm and come introduce himself. As the hurricane's arrival grew nearer and the unsettling truth about the subway owner's condition unfolded, I found myself in a difficult and unexpected position. The owner, who I had mistaken for a menacing presence, was dealing with profound pain and suffering due to his burns. But that never explained why Sally fell and got hurt or why he wanted a free sandwich. The unexpected turn of events left me in shock and disbelief. The owner, still in pain and frustration, suddenly lashed out and punched me in the gut. The force of the blow knocked the wind out of me, leaving me gasping for breath and doubled over in pain. The situation had escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. I had lost my job,